Self Love Sunday. I am Tarnisha Moe Sass, your host of Self Love Sundays with Sass. I am your certified vision and empowerment coach who comes every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. Okay, so if you are on the East Coast, my first question to you is how are you handling the heat wave? It's been like crazy. Whew. And although it's crazy, I'm a summer baby, so I am enjoying it. I hope everybody is doing well. If you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you stick around and enjoy the content. And if you have been around, I really thank you for subscribing. I thank you for liking. I thank you for sharing. And I thank you for listening. And please continue to do so as I grow. I pray that you are growing right along with me. And today, I want to talk about because last week we started getting back to the foundation of why I started this channel, which was self love, and what how that transpired was. I had a friend of mine who used to tell me, all you have to do is like, girl, just focus on you and love yourself. And I used to be like, what does that mean? Like, I love myself. First of all, I was very defensive. Let's just start there. Okay. Let's just start with the fact that I was very defensive. Did not know that I was defensive because when you are in the middle of the picture frame, you don't realize what you look and sound like. And that's why it's so great to have good people in your corner who actually love and care for you and can tell you when you acting a little cray cray, okay? Or like real talk. I mean, I'm joking, but real talk is so great to have people in your corner that can just say, "Hey, listen, you're being super defensive." Or, "Hey, listen, I love you. I just want to see you get better. I want to see you win." And some of your behaviors don't show that. And although you may be saying like, "Hey," because I see it all the time too. I love myself. You say that, but yet you're giving yourself away. You're people pleasing, and what that looks like is saying yes to everybody else, even when you want to say no, and you're exhausted, and you have these dreams and visions and goals that you want to work on, but because you're so busy being busy, helping everyone else and taking care of everyone else and doing for everyone else, you're not doing for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, anyone that I see that's doing that, I'm going to tell you right now, no, you do not love yourself. If you're not giving from a place of overflow, but you're giving to get something back, you're giving because you need to feel something back, yeah, there's some deficiency there. And that doesn't mean you don't love some part of your life, but that also means that they're not loving yourself in totality. Because when you love yourself, you say yes to you and you say no to you. Okay, because I know people don't talk about that too. Sometimes loving yourself means saying no to yourself, saying no to that extra snack on that refrigerator, saying no to going downstairs to the refrigerator late at night, saying no to going to that party that you know you shouldn't go to, saying no to picking up that drink that you know you shouldn't drink, saying no of being around people that you know really don't care about you, but just because you want to fit in, you want to go ahead and be in the area or vicinity with them, right? So it also means saying no to yourself, saying no, listen, and I have to do this with myself recently too, saying no to spending money in places where I know I don't have any business, right? When I need to be saving towards some things, okay? So, when that was all going on though, so getting back to when my girlfriend would say it to me, I would get very upset because I felt like, I love myself. And that to me looked like, oh, because I take care of myself. I get my hair done, I get my nails done, that kind of thing. And I, put on whatever decent clothes that I feel like I like. So I thought that was all what loving yourself was about. But I realize now as I've done the work, that's just superficial. That's just superficial. That's the outer layer. And there's some inner layer that we have to get to. So I thought I would come and share some of the ways that I measure self love. And one of the first things is self confidence. When I love myself, like, and when anybody loves, so you're really confident. You're confident in your way of being, right? And so when you enter a room, it's like a presence come in the room with you. You don't feel the need to shrink back. You don't feel the need to overtake the room either. And I'm not talking about playing small. I'm saying you feel the need just to be who you are, to walk in your own skin, and to know that whoever you're supposed to be with, you're supposed to be with. Whoever you're supposed to talk to, you talk to. Whoever you don't, right? And I don't want to mistake, confidence for arrogance or cockiness. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's like a subtle calm when you go in places and you're like, no, it's okay because I'm just going to be me. And guess what? That means that whoever I'm supposed to, meld with, whoever I'm supposed to speak to, whoever I'm supposed to get to know, that's going to naturally happen because I'm myself. And even when you get in a space where you're talking to people. You don't feel the need to overtalk. You don't feel the need to like, oh, me too it to death, right? Oh, me too, or I. No, you can just be cool and confident in yourself and just, know when to insert yourself and know when not, know when to speak and when to be quiet. Those are all subtle ways of, confidence. And, you know, when you're talking about measuring your confidence level, it's about when you go into the rooms not shrinking back, knowing that you're supposed to be there, knowing that you're worthy and knowing that you're deserving and that everyone in the room is equal. Okay. And so therefore you don't feel the need to shrink back and not be yourself. That's super, super important. And I'm going to tell you what, when you are confident in yourself, it carries forward. And when you're confident in your personal life, it carries forward in your business as well. And there are some people I know who are super confident in business and not so confident at home. And that's because there's some inner work still that needs to be done. And so it's easier to go on the job and let that be your identity as opposed to who you really are and what you're really about and what you really stand for. And when you're self-confident, you don't shrink back in any of those areas. Like I'm confident enough to come here and I talk every single Sunday and I say, hey, listen, it's not my place to tell you what God you should believe in, as long as you believe in something, because there's something bigger than you. I don't care what you call it. You can call it Buddha, Allah, universe. And I always say, if and as for me is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now that doesn't mean that like you should listen to me because I believe you can learn from anybody. And I also believe that some people miss the message because of the messenger. However, comma and okay, I'm not going to shrink back on that because somebody may not believe in what I believe in. Okay. And there's a subtle confidence in that because the love that I not only have for God, but the love that I know that God has for me. I will never allow anybody to shrink me back in a corner and not speak it because it's okay, right? We all get to walk in and love ourselves as we are, but that's a part of that confidence. All right. So that's one of the ways that I measure self love. The next, I self assess. Let me tell you something. A person who loves themselves check their own behaviors. Most times, somebody don't have to check me because I'm gonna check myself. That's real talk. Like check yourself. And what I mean by check yourself, check your heart, check your posture, check your tone. All those things are super, super important because the when you think about it, right? When you check yourself, like it's like I'm in tune with myself. I'm in alignment with like, okay, you were feeling a little bit off, and maybe you're having a conversation with somebody. And I talked about triggers last week where you're feeling some kind of way, but that really don't have anything to do with them. Let me check myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me check myself. Or somebody is saying to me, like, hey, that sounded kind of harsh. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, let me check myself. Like, let me just, tune in because I understand that I may be trying to convey a message one way, but somebody may be, hearing it a very different way. And it's okay to check yourself and self assess and step back, right? And so, a lot of it too, when it comes to it, it's just checking your ego. Okay. And, you have to check your ego because when you're in your ego, you're edging God out of it. And when God's in it, it's more peaceful, it's more loving, it's more calm. It's that's the difference for me. And so when I'm talking about measuring it, you have to look at like what's the difference for you. You can when you start to think about how you act and react to people, you can start to look at okay, well, what was my tone like? What mannerism? What my? Cause sometimes my face now come. How many of y'all, your face will tell it all before your mouth will? Okay. So you need to check your facial expressions because I know me, my face will be like, what? Like, who you think you talking to? Right? And sometimes that's ego. Sometimes the person is not trying to convey something to me either, but because I'm misreading it. And so sometimes I just have to check myself. Like, hold on, that's all right. So and you may be saying, well, what does checking yourself look like? So checking yourself looks like you're in a conversation with somebody, as for an example, and they're saying something that is bothering you to some degree, right? And then you start to clap back, or you start to like get a tone, or you start to speak in an irritated way, right? And then the person starts to convey, hey, listen, that's not what I mean. So by checking yourself, it's just saying, you know what, hold on, wait a minute. Like in the inside, not out loud, just in the inside, just wait. Right? Let me just breathe for a second. Let me take a step back. Let me truly hear what's being said. And or if I truly felt like I heard it and I still felt some kind of way about the person, checking myself could mean like, Okay, is it really worth it? Like, do you really need to go back and forth, or can you just walk away? Like, just you know what I'm saying? Like, I said, because some things, like some people and some conversations are not worth it. I said that absolutely they're not. And when you have a lot to lose, you listen. You better start to learning how to check yourself and walk away. It's not worth it because some people don't have anything to lose, right? I always come from a God perspective, and that's always a happy and loving perspective. But I realize that everybody's not happy and loving, okay? And so sometimes I have to say, you know what, this is not worth it, and I have to walk away. But I'm what when I measure in my when I measure my self love though, when I'm self assessing, I know I love myself enough to give myself a minute. I love myself enough to say, hey, this isn't worth it. I love myself enough to say, I'm not, it takes two to argue, so I'm going to not do that. I love myself enough to say, you know what, wait a minute, maybe I could say this in a different manner, or let me just take a step back and breathe, right? So that's that measurement when I say, I love myself enough. All right. So that I can assess myself and just know, you know what, it's all good. Because it really is. At the end of the day, I wish more people would get this. 'Cause I see so many people like on social media going back and forth and arguing. They're arguing with air. Real listen, if you in my comments, you're arguing with air. And I talked to my girlfriend about this today, and it's such a real thing. I digress for a half a second. Y'all just roll with me. We were talking about how, people, will spill something or say something about somebody on the internet. And it reminds me because I was born in a time where there wasn't internet. And back in the day, before there were an internet, it would be he said, she said, and gossip, right? And I just remember those times where it will always be some gossip. And you had two choices in that matter. You could either believe what somebody said or they heard. Meanwhile, the person who's gossiping 9 times out of 10 never had a conversation with a person, don't know anything about that person. It's just a rumor mill or something they decided to start. And I said that's the same thing that's happening right now on social media. It's just on social media as opposed to us whispering behind the scenes, right? Because every time somebody comes up with something new about somebody, and I don't know what's going on in this world where everybody and their mother has to be gay. As soon as something happened, this man has to be gay or this woman has to be gay. I don't know what that's about. And it's like the rumor mill, and it's the he said, she said, and it's so interesting because depending upon how somebody responds to that, I know how you were back in the day. You were the person that believed every single rumor until it got to that rumor about you. Now all of a sudden it's not true. But how is it that you believe everything else everybody else says about everybody else, but when it gets to you, it's not true? Like that's what I'm talking about, right? Checking yourself. And when those things happen, when somebody brings something to you that's not about you, checking yourself, saying, well, really, what does this really have to do with me? And why is it that I'm automatically gonna believe a rumor mill when I know that if somebody was saying something about me, I would at least want that person to have the dignity and respect enough for me to come and have a conversation with me. And but here's what's happening on the internet. You don't know these people, you never met these people. They're saying whatever they're saying, and you automatically believing it. You're jumping on the internet, you're clapping back at somebody, you're saying, and it's like, why? And I get it. Some people will be like, well, I'm tired and I'm not gonna take it. I hear you. And I love myself enough to say, I don't need to clap back. Like real talk. Like I love myself enough. And that's where that self-assessment comes into play. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta say, I love myself enough to let the bot behind the words, because that's all they are to me. If I don't know you, you're just another bot. Whatever they're gonna say. And that's why you gotta block and delete. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So the next, my first measure of self love was self confidence, right? The second one was self assessment. The next one is self respect. Let me tell you something. I used to be a part of this group, and I'm still a part of them. They called us the Diamond Six, and so when we became the Diamond Six, we all started researching diamonds, right? And so there was this the Cullinan diamond, and this diamond sells for 2 billion. Well, if you're a Cullinan diamond, you would not allow anybody to treat you like you're a cubic zirconia. But bigger than that, you won't treat yourself like a cubic zirconia. You wouldn't shrink yourself. You wouldn't listen. You wouldn't, you know, let anybody disrespect you, let alone to me when it comes down to respect, but respect yourself, how you show up in a room. And knowing that there's a time and place for everything. Yes, I may come from that area. Maybe people don't believe in that area no more, but I believe there's a time and a space for everything. Everything is not for everybody all the time, and they shouldn't get every single part of you. When I walk into corporate America, because right now I own my own business, but I also work in corporate America, and I've been there. It'll be 27 years soon. For 27 years in the same business, I know that when I walk into my job, I'm not going to treat it like my home and put my feet up on the desk. I'm not, and there's times when I'm home and I talk to my kids, and I'm saying funny things. I may be speaking in Ebonics or whatever that is. I know that when I walk into my workplace, that's not the person that I'm bringing, because I have enough respect for myself and respect for my company not to do that. Now you may say, well, why you do it at home? Because it's funny. Like at home, I get to joke, I get to let my hair down, but there's a time and place for everything. And I think that we're losing touch with that. Have some respect for yourself, even the clothes that you wear. Right? There is a time and a place and a season for every single thing. And it's okay, to live life and have fun, but also have some self-respect. Why would you allow somebody to treat you less than, and why would you treat yourself less than? That's a question. That's a question. What does looking at look like? So what does that look like? Because I know some people always say, like, well, what does that mean? So I knew that I didn't have any real respect for myself when I would be around people and say they were, let's just go an example. Say that everybody drinking Hennessy, everybody's, but that's not really what I want to do, and it's not really who I am anymore. But when I don't respect myself, I'll shrink myself and go along with the crowd. I go along to get along instead of saying, you know what, no, I'm good. That to me is when you don't respect yourself. When you don't respect yourself, when you all right, how can I say this? Because I want to be clear that there was a time in my life where I just spoke out of turn. I would just go off. There's no other way to say it, okay? Just go off the rails, cussing somebody out. Why? And just the way I carried myself. Back in the day, y'all, you wouldn't believe, like, I used to clap my hands and pop my mouth. And I'm not saying, let me be clear, I'm not saying that nobody else could do that. Nobody else should do that. I'm talking about, this is the way I measure self love. I pray that you listen to me and you decide to measure self love how you want to, but just so you can get a sense of how I do it, so that when you're working through your thing or on your thing, you can start to look at some behaviors of yours. These are just behaviors of mine where I felt that, I lack self respect. The way I walked in the room, the way I talked, sometimes even the way I used to dress. Okay. There was a time, oh my God, I will never forget it. I was young. I was young. We used to have this club called the Jamaican Club. I will never forget it. I was in there with some booty shorts on. The booty shorts wasn't a problem. Okay. The front, I had the pants like where the zipper party is open, with my beeper sitting in front of, my hoo ha. Yeah, there is nothing that speaks of a lack of self respect than that. And I'm going to leave that at that. Yes, I used to be that girl named who ain't good. Glory be to God. I'm nothing like that today, but I needed that. And I won't say I needed that. And I went through all that so I could be here doing what I'm doing today, having this conversation with y'all. All right. So, like I said, these are some of the ways that I measure. So we did self confidence, self assessment, self respect. The next one is self motivation. What that looks like is when I don't need anybody to motivate me to get up to come and do these videos. There was a time when I didn't love myself. I needed extra motivation. I needed somebody to push me. And I'm not saying I still don't need people in my life. I want to be very, very crystal clear. I need my system of success, which is my therapist, my coach, who I love. She's so y'all. I can't wait. There's gonna be some new things coming soon with my business, and I'm super excited about it. But we're not there yet. And I need my community of my friends who, I'm telling you, they make me think that I'm superwoman. This thing you can do it when we talk about when it comes to business and stuff. It's like, you can do it. I'm not saying I don't need them. I'm saying though, when it comes down to I love myself enough to take care of my business, get up and go to work every day, take care of my body. I'm self motivated because I love myself. But when I didn't love myself, I needed somebody to push me. I need somebody to say, hey, listen, you might want to get up and you might want to, go work out. Hey, listen, you might want to eat a little bit healthy. Let me tell you something. We used to be big. Like I used to call us the clumps. We were not that big. I do exaggerate, all right, just a little bit. But it's not but and I was a lot larger and we used to eat all types of fried foods and this and that and the other. And it would be big meals, big Sunday meals. And I was like, how can I say I'm loving myself when I'm killing myself? Like real talk. How can I say I'm loving myself when I'm killing myself? That was the question I had to ask myself. Like when I started to love myself, I wanted to put healthier things in my body. When I started to love myself, I wanted to work out more. And I'm gonna just be real with y'all, because I'm like that. During the menopause, like I'm not saying that there won't be a struggle because there's definitely a struggle in this phase of my life. And I'm still incorporating it. I still went to Tony Robbins' Life Mastery, which talks about all about the body to learn more so I can continue to get better in this new phase of my life. But when you love yourself, you don't need anybody to tell you, hey, listen, you need to eat better. You need to move your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, no, I need to take care of me. And also get motivated enough to invest in yourself. I'm not going to keep having this conversation every single week. And I will tell you that I don't need anybody to motivate me to say, hey, listen, go invest in your coach. Go invest in the coach. Go invest in the therapist, right? I knew I loved myself when I wanted to do those things because it was all about me becoming the best version of myself, not becoming something bigger and better for somebody else. I don't really care about people from that perspective. What I do care about is being a blessing to people. Let me tell you guys something. I talked about the Cry Out Conference, and you can go back and check out my video from 2 Sundays ago when I talked about it. But I will never forget Dr. Matthew Stevens because the way he blessed me. I just said, God, if what I do is even a quarter of that, if something I can say can set someone free, to let them know that they can do it, to let them know that they can love themselves, to let them know that life is going to life, and throughout life, guess what? You can still keep going. Yes, because I was a welfare mother who had earned $322 a month, who took herself to six figures. I'm also a mother who buried two sons, and I still show up and I still love. And so for me, if I can continue to do that, like I don't need any motivation to show up for y'all. I don't. But that's because I love myself and I love to show people that you can do that too. That is not just for me and it's not just for the other people you see, and that your vision and your dreams can come true. You have to make a choice though. Okay, you have to decide. That's the number one thing. People always like, well, what's the first thing you do when it comes down to business? Make a choice, make a decision. You have to decide. You have to make a decision that this is what you're going to do. Secondly, after you make a decision that, hey, this is what you want to do, you have to write the vision down. What is the vision? The vision is the end goal. Who is it that I want to become? What is it that I want to do? Who do I need to become to be that? How do I want to feel? Like who is around me? What are we talking about? What does the environment look like? Am I in the beach or I'm in the mountains? What state am I? Like you have to write all of it down. And then after, first you decide, then you write all of it down. And then, listen, the third thing that you have to do is ask yourself, why do I want to do all this? Why do I want to live the vision out? And your why has to be so strong that you don't quit. My why, which is partly my self motivation, is my children. I want them to know that they can be, do, or have anything they want in their life. Watch your mother. Watch your mother. I don't want you to watch Beyonce. I don't want you to watch Rihanna. I love them. Don't get me twisted. This is not about you. I don't judge anybody. I want it to come from inside of here. I want to be their inspiration. I want to be their motivation. I want to be their role model. That's why self respect, carrying myself a certain way. That's why I had to change. It was about loving myself and becoming the best version of myself. And so my children can follow me. Now they're gonna find me in everything. First of all, I'm their mother, okay? Let me tell you something. I'm their mother, and sometimes I'm talking to them. I think I'm sounding positive, they think I sound negative. That stuff is gonna be natural and that stuff is gonna happen. That's not what I'm talking about. but I'm talking about them watching me not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. That's different. That's different. And when you self motivate, what happens is you are going to need other people, and you won't be pulling from them from a level of desperation at all. It'll be just like that. It's like your cup is just at the top. Yeah, it's like your coffee filled just at the top, and then when they give you, it's that overflow. But my friends, when they got my back now, and I'm gonna tell you right now, they got my back. Especially right now, I have a new coach, and she is a seven-figure, plus coach, and she's phenomenal. And sometimes I get in the room, listen, let me, so y'all, want y'all follow me, and I get nervous. I get nervous, and I'm like, "Ah." And so they're the ones that let me know, like, listen, girl, you got this, right? And this is where the self confidence comes in. I'm confident in my ability to do what I need to do. What I'm nervous about is like, is she bad? She is bad to the bone. And I don't want her life. I just want to be able to succeed at the highest level of my vision, which is huge, y'all. It's really, really huge. And sometimes when I think about it, I get heart palpitations. And guess what? I'm never going to stop because my why is big enough. So that is all a part of it. Okay. So again, how I measure self is my self motivation. When I'm not really loving myself, and again, these things are gonna happen. Like as I, going through this perimenopause, y'all, and I'm gonna keep talking about it because I want women to start to feel that they're normal. Yeah, sometimes you wake up, you don't feel like yourself. You're a little bit more tired. 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're down. When you get a woman of a certain age, I want you to know that that's normal. Okay, and I want you to know that you can get help for it. So yes, I'm going to come here and I'm going to speak about it where other people, places may not talk about that. Listen, but a part of loving yourself is saying, here, this is a part of my life now, and this is happening. And guess what? I can build a system of success to give me some help. I can go to the doctors. I can go get my hormones checked by a specialist, right? Because sometimes the OBGYN, they can't help you. I'm just going to tell you, you have to go to holistic route, right? You have to do whatever it is you need to do so that you can feel better again, because this is about becoming the best version of yourself. It's not about anybody else, okay? So I know I was talking about, self motivation, but this is all a part of that. This is all a part of it. I don't need anybody to motivate me to keep investing in myself. I'm gonna keep investing in myself until I get to the top, very top of where I want to be, and I probably will still keep going. And so, what am I talking about? I'm talking about I'm never gonna stop reading books. I'm never gonna stop having coaches. I'm never gonna start going to therapy. Therapy is not just for when things are bad. First of all, it's best to go when things are good, because what happens is when that pendulum swings, because life will always life for all of us. Guess what? You have the tips and the tools to know how to deal with the swing. That's why I promote it. Couples therapy, one-on-one therapy, grief therapy. Do what you need to do to become the best version of you. So that's how I measure self-love. And when I know that I'm always on that stride to become the best version of myself, not for anyone else, but for me first. Because let me just tell you a little secret. Like I want to know that I can do it, right? And then secondly is the legacy. I want to pass down a generation of love. I want my great, great, great grandchildren who will never get to meet me in person to be like, hey, listen, I did it because you know what? My great, 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 great grandmother wrote a book. And she helped so many people through the power of her words. And she taught them how to love themselves. She taught six-figure entrepreneurs how to scale their business through not yet another tactic, but how to create the vision for their business, not just their lives, and then to help them actually correlate the two. Because a lot of times what happens is the business is messed up because the home is messed up, and they don't know how to merge the two. Because you absolutely can have peace in your home and peace in your business. I didn't say life was not going to life, and I didn't say there was going to be any ups and downs. But what I'm telling you is there is a secret sauce to this thing where you can actually have the best of both worlds. You just got to know the season you're in. Okay. So again, we're talking about, how I measure self-love. The next thing is self-assurance. Let me tell you something. I am an affirmation girl all day, every day, twice on Sunday. And What that looks like to me is when I know I'm loving myself, when I'm affirming myself, when I'm saying I am worthy, I am a great mom, I am a great friend, I am an awesome worker, I'm a healer, I am a coach. And then I turn around in that same mirror and I say, girl, you are worthy. Who am I talking to when I say you are worthy? I'm talking to the enemy. Because see, what happens is a lot of times we do affirmations and it reaches a level of surface. But when you reaffirm yourself, you're talking to the little you that's in there. Because let me just explain something to you. I know it's hard, and I know that sometimes you don't want to hear this, but you got to go be the mommy or daddy to the little you that you never had. Because we all had something in our lives that we didn't necessarily like or didn't necessarily love. So guess what? You got to go give it to you now. I will say it to the day I die. You were born looking like your parents, but you will die looking like your choices and decisions. So whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to do. So why don't you love yourself enough to start looking at your life, looking at how you measure yourself, looking at the ways you can measure your self love, whether it's self confidence, whether it's self motivation, whether it's self assessing yourself, whether it's self assurance, whatever that is for you, why don't you love yourself enough to take the time out to write those things down? Love yourself enough to sit down and say, you know what, how do I want to feel in the morning? When I talk about vision, a lot of times people start thinking, oh, I don't want to think about 3 and 5 years from now. But what if I told you that vision is 10 minutes from the time you're about to watch this video, an hour after? You see, the vision is the future. The future is a minute, two, 5, 10, 15, 30 after you do a thing, right? So, how do you want to feel a month from now? You don't want to go 3 years out. How do you want to feel 6 months from now? How do you want to feel by the end of December 31st, 2024? Because it's coming on us, because this year is flying by. And I don't know what happens to us after we turn 40, but it just seems like we blink our eye and all of a sudden time just starts to moving quicker and quicker and quicker. So, ask yourself and then start to measure it. What would it look like for me just to love on myself just a little bit more? What do it look like to love myself enough to invest in my health, to invest in my nutrition, to invest in my physical body, to invest in my mind, to invest in my soul, getting closer to whomever that you call God? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Because all of that's becoming the best version of you. When you love you, that's that verge of being the best version of yourself. Get you a strong why. Why? Why do you want to do the thing you want to do? When it comes down to why, and when in terms of loving yourself, love myself enough just to know that I can be better than I was yesterday. How about that? And I definitely pray that this message helps somebody today. I definitely pray that you love yourself a little bit more. Interact with me, send me a message, let me know, what is your measurement of self love? I only gave you a few. I gave you mine, which is self confidence, self assess, self respect, self motivation, and then my self assurance. But what are some of yours? I want to know. And here's what we do: we each one teach one. I think we've gotten away from that. That it takes a village. So when we share, when you share my videos and you're helping somebody else out, when you share in the comment, it helps other people. Maybe some people are afraid to comment. I understand that as well. And I love you. And just subscribe, okay? Hit the subscribe button. But or follow me, all right, depending upon where you see this message at. And just know that you're helping somebody. And if we're not helping other people, what are we here for? What are we here for? That's our purpose, whether you know it or not. A part of your purpose is to help someone else as they're coming up, whether they're a child, whether they're another grown adult, but that's the purpose. Now, we all do our purpose different ways. Mine is being the coach and the author and the speaker. Yours may be through building your plumbing business or your electrician business, but just know that when you walk in that home with that self-service business, that you are helping someone else, somebody who probably is giving you their last, the last of what they have. Just remember that. Just remember that. But if not for purpose, what are we here for? And I love you for listening. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your Sunday. And I will be talking to you next week. Remember, you can email me at info@mosass.com. You can check out my website, www.mosass.com. All that will be in the bottom of the video. Talk to you later.